In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie.
Hello, everybody. Ryan Roxie here, and welcome to another edition of In the Trenches with Ryan Roxie podcast. We are now, wow, we're deep into it, aren't we, folks? We've been doing these for a while now, and I usually have people that are in the trenches, sort of attached to an iconic name. Well, our guest today is attached to an iconic band. Very long-standing member. Very happy to have him on the program. A little bit out of my wheelhouse, to be honest with you, because, you know, his type of music that he plays with his band, I've been influenced by just by where I grew up, and I'll talk about that later. But at the same time, it's not in my wheelhouse. So that's why I'm really curious to talk about it, get inside his head, see what he thinks about music, the music business, and everything that's going on right now. Would you welcome to In the Trenches, Andreas Kisser? Here you go.
Yo.
How you doing?
How are you, man? Good.
Good. Long-standing member of the band Sepultura, guitarist Andreas Kisser. How you doing right now? I heard you're barraged with interviews and stuff.
Yeah, Ryan. Well, I mean, I'm here in São Paulo, of course, on quarantine for I don't know how many days, more than a month for sure. And but at the same time, you know, we here at home, I'm working a lot, I'm studying a lot. You know, we have to reorganize our touring because we're supposed to tour in the States and Canada. Like a few weeks ago, supposed to be the last show. We have to postpone the tour. All the festivals in Europe, we had like an amazing schedule, you know, for June, July. We just have a new album coming out and etc. So, you know, in that respect was a total disaster. But I mean, it's not something that happened only with Sepultura, you know, it happens everywhere, and not only the music industry, you know, it's like everywhere. And there are a lot of sections on society that are a lot worse, of course, than us, you know. Of course, we have our business, we had our, you know, our crew, which is suffering, you know, the most around, and people who like work with lights and sound and stuff, you know, they depend on everybody touring regardless of the music style and everything. So, you know, it's really a tough situation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But in a way, we have to look at certain ways to mitigate the damage and sort of make the most out of the time that we have. And one of the advantages is we get to talk,
definitely,
and sort of promote the album on a different type of platform, a different type of stage.
Exactly.
And we're here to talk about the 15th.
Yeah, I joined Sepultura in April 1987. Sepultura up to that time had like two independent albums. One like an EP that came out in 1985, and then they did like in 1986 a full album, their first full album. The EP was called Bestial Devastation, and the album was Morbid Visions. And I joined soon after Morbid Visions. They were doing a few shows, and the other guitar player left the band for musical differences, whatever. And then I joined Sepultura. I used to have a band here in São Paulo, playing with you know, friends and from school days, you know, like listening to all the heavy metal bands and stuff, and trying to reproduce the same and everything, you know. So I started kind of early having bands and playing covers, and then Sepultura showed like a great opportunity because, you know, Max, Igor, and Paulo, they have the same kind of fire that I had, you know, that really to go and try to do something with music, you know. Of course, coming from Brazil was very difficult, but at the same time, it created like a very unique characteristic to our music, you know, not only because of our cultural baggage being Brazilian, but also, you know, we learn in a very different way, let's say, compared to an American or a European, you know.
Right. Well, I think the bold move for you guys coming from São Paulo, Brazil, was that you dove in with thrash metal in English. You weren't going to do it you weren't going to do it in Portuguese. You weren't going to do it, you know, you were going to sing it in English. And I think that actually always made you guys perhaps maybe unique a little bit on the outside, but that helped you because it always gave you that exotic feel, right?
Definitely, especially coming from South America, you know, because singing in English was not that odd because our, you know, influences were bands from outside Brazil, of course. I mean, Scorpions being a German band singing in English, Voivod being like a Canadian French band, singing in English, and Accept, another German band singing in English, and Loudness from Japan, also singing in English. So, the whole world English. All that style of music in English. We had kind of like a prejudice against our own.
Sorry about that. It's just that's one of the hurdles that we have to learn to deal with.
Well, this is something we have with internet, like always since internet started, always there's a problem with the connection and stuff, and now we're feeling more than ever, for sure,
Absolutely. Well, the thing I wanted to talk about, because I said at the beginning of the show that it was a little bit out of my wheelhouse as far as style of music, but at the same time, we were both listening to the same types of bands growing up, very straight ahead. Queen was one of my favorite bands. Kiss was one of my favorite bands. AC/DC. So all those click your boxes, right? As far as early influences.
Oh yeah, the heavy metal came to Brazil in a very specific places. Like one record store in São Paulo called Woodstock Records was the only one who had that kind of import albums. From Venom, from Metallica, Slayer, Destruction. And even before, of course, we had like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, the big labels, put it out there throughout the 70s and stuff. And, it was like a very underground, really. And learning how the metal scene spread was the same in Brazil. It just started a little later, because like cassette trading and one album, vinyl album, that made the whole neighborhood happy, with the, that could spread, the music of one album throughout the different cassettes and stuff, and one guy have like a pin or a button or a t-shirt and stuff. That was a reason to go talk to him, hey, dude, where we got that? I remember in a subway in Sao Paulo, I saw a guy with a Kiss pin, a Kiss button. I was just, what the fuck, man? It was like seeing something really, glowing out of the multitude of people in the subway, and so that was very special, like really pioneering, that type of music here. And I have to say, I were very privileged, because of my age, because Queen came to Brazil in 1981 to play in a big stadium. Kiss came to Brazil in 1983, which was my first show, to see Kiss live, and that changed my life. That's why I'm here, doing what I do today. And in 1985 came Rock and Rio, which was an explosion of not only the metal music, but everywhere, it was Ozzy, AC/DC, Queen, Al Jarreau, Yes, James Taylor, B-52s, it was insane, it was amazing. And Brazil was going through also like going out of this military dictatorship, that started in 1964. And in 1985 was really opening, for democracy, for elections and all that stuff, that it was really exciting times, and Sepultura came out of that as well, 1985, 86, 87, So, and listening to those bands,
the way that you say pioneer, and that's a good word, because a lot of people, a lot of writers, critics, and rock writers, journalists cite you as being sort of the forefront of the second wave of thrash metal, whereas the first wave, maybe Metallica, Anthrax, and then like you're saying, that music's coming down. And this is where I find the connection with me and you from me growing up in the Bay Area, because of a lot of the bands that you get cited, that Sepultura gets cited with, come from the Bay Area. Bands like Testament, Dark Angel, Death Angel, Forbidden, Machine Head. Here's two quick examples. Violence, exactly. Testament. I used to go to keg parties when I was growing up.
Sadus, we toured with Sadus, one of our first tours, also band from Bay Area.
The guitar player from Machine Head, I actually gave him guitar lessons when I was growing up in the Bay Area. So there's that connection. So I just find it so interesting to me that here's this band from São Paulo, Brazil, but all of a sudden you are considered with these other second wave of thrash metal bands, and you toured with all of them. Did they ever treat you differently because you were from someplace else, or was it all one big sort of metal group?
I think they all treated us differently in a very good way, because we were received by open arms, with all of them, different bands and the media, the magazines, radio, it was really exciting because for the scene in general was really exciting to have a band from Brazil doing very heavy music and having that kind of a different taste, the Brazilian percussion groove, which although we were not using as explicit as we did, afterwards with Chaos AD and Roots, the drumming was always like that naturally, and somehow we got like a different, spice there that really raised some eyebrows outside, and we got our chances, in 1989. In 1988, actually, we signed with Roadrunner Records. We recorded the Beneath the Remains album. In 1989 was the first time Sepultura was worldwide released officially. And then, later we were touring, for Beneath the Remains with Sodom in Europe. Our first show was in Vienna, in 1989. And already we saw people with Sepultura shirts singing the lyrics of our new album. I mean, that really blew my mind, like people from Hungary, from Slovenia, from Austria, all those places.
You realize that it's a worldwide. Yeah, it's a worldwide thing. So things are moving along. I gotta think that 1991, then with the album Arise, and then the subsequent tour, that has to be a turning point in Sepultura's career. And then all of a sudden, you see what happens on a worldwide level with the band's popularity. Yeah.
No doubt about it. Arise was the perfect dream album, because doing Beneath the Remains, the record label was not really, 100% sure. Signing a band from Brazil was a risk, a big move for them and for ourselves too. So Beneath the Remains was really a great experience to prepare ourselves, especially touring and, doing tours outside Brazil and learning a little bit how the business worked and stuff. Arise, we were in a much better situation. The label was full power. We went to Florida to record with Scott Burns at the Morris Sound Studios in Tampa, at the mecca of that metal, Death and Morbid Angel and stuff. All that stuff that really influenced Sepultura a lot, in the early days. And the Arise tour took almost 3 years. We went everywhere. We did the New Titans on the Block in the United States with Sacred Reich, Napalm Death, and Sick of It All. What a great mixture,
Right. That's where the synergy of all these bands works, and that's how the scene.
Amazing. It's one of our historical tours, and then we toured with Ozzy Osbourne and Alice in Chains. For the first time in America. We went to Australia, to Japan. We played Rock in Rio Festival for the first time in '91. So, Arise was really exploded, everything for us and for Sepultura around the world,
Can you remember the first time you saw a Sepultura patch logo on the back of a jean jacket?
It was very hard to find, especially in Germany, because they had like thousands of bands, everywhere.
Right. They still do. They still do.
But I have to say, one of that was really, of course, I mean, very emotional for us was when Rob Halford, came a few years ago with a whole, a great jacket or something. I don't know how you call that, with the Beneath the Remains patch on it. French coat, yeah. And Beneath the Remains was there, so, oh my God, the metal god. But Rob Halford, we met Rob Halford for the first time at Rock in Rio in '91. Backstage, Judas Priest was there, Guns N' Roses, Megadeth, and Queensryche. And we were there, opening that and stuff, and was our first connection with a god like that. And he was so nice, so, respectful, to see this Brazilian band just like, with big eyes, trying to absorb everything that was going on, so, it was so inspiring and motivating for us, that it showed us that we were doing something special and somehow we were going to the right track.
Right. Well, I always love to hear, when bands come from a seemingly impossible position, even geographically, you're not you're not in Los Angeles, you're not in Florida, you're not in the Bay Area, you're in Sao Paulo, but you end up conquering and being on top of the whole thrash metal scene, I'm just always curious about how much of the business you guys understood, or did you just bow your heads down, tour, or was there someone there always studying about the particulars, you know?
Dude, we were doing music and always our management and business were a fucking mess, you know, pardon my French.
No, that's a story, man. That's a common occurrence. We know that, right?
Oh my God, man. A family involved, you know, like very difficult to deal rationally with business. Some parts doing stuff like that was amazing, was great. You know, we could do crazy stuff like going to the tribe, Indian tribe and stuff. Sepultura was always fearless about that, but was all the time was very confusing, you know, and we did our whole career basically like that, just like 4 or 5 years ago that we finally, you know, going through many different management and ways of doing Sepultura business and stuff. We have something really, you know, organized and no dramas. You know, we have stuff here in Brazil, Europe, and the United States connected. A great relationship with our labels in the States and, you know, the world, Brazil, Japan. We have a great relationship with our old members, you know, not like straight like a friendship or nothing, but business-wise, you know, between our lawyers and managers, you know, we have old stuff that is so, you know, Beneath the Remains, we just re-released like a double album vinyl and stuff, and we have to do stuff together, you know. We did amazing things together, you know, and still people talks about that, you know. You see people talking about Chaos or Arise or Roots or whatever, you know, and we're still here doing Sepultura after 36 years, probably with our best album ever, you know. Quadra is something that's it's so special for us. Yeah. It's a shame that we're not having a chance to go on the road, you know. But but like I said, I mean,
very inspiring to hear you talk about that, because I can hear the passion in your voice. And for someone that's been in a band, and of course you have original members, and you have it gets complicated along the road. Obviously, playing with Alice Cooper, the original band is still coming. You know, they come around to the shows, and we still jam, and we can still because at the end of the day, what you guys have all created is a legacy, and you continue to do it. And I'm glad to see that things have worked out business-wise where you have a system now. But just so you know, bands out there that are listening, like Andreas says, it can get pretty hairy in the beginning, because there'll always be someone that's trying to take this or take that or sign for too much. And you don't really know about contract negotiation. You just want to rock and roll.
So the contract we signed in 1988, you know, with Roadrunner was a paper like that, like pages of pages, you know, in English, and we translated for some reason to Portuguese, and it was even bigger, and we couldn't understand anything, you know. It was just like no lawyers could understand that. Like 7 albums. What band does that, you know? I mean, we were even like slaves there for some time, you know. Right. After Rise and KOZD was going on, we kind of changed the contract a little bit to be more just, but you know, it was insane, you know. But we signed, you know, it was like Robert Johnson, you know, on the Crossroads, you know, signing the contract, like blind, you know, let's go for it, you know. And we did. And we learned a lot doing that, you know. It was crazy, but that you're never going to learn that in a classroom, you know, anywhere.
No, you learned it. You learned it sometimes the hard way, but at the end of the day, you learned it by playing. And then you did gig. You also have been in other associated acts. I read somewhere, did you ever tour around Brazil or Sao Paulo in a Beatles-esque band? Did that happen?
Yeah, definitely. I played with this band from Brazil, which is a different state here from Sao Paulo. The city is called Vitória, and they played the Beatles for, I don't know, more than 30 years now. They started as a radio show, and then they created this band. And they go to Liverpool for the Beatle Week every year for 28 or 29 years. I don't know how many years. It's insane. They broke the record there, you know. And the Beatle Week happens every August. in Liverpool, and bands from all over the world go there to celebrate the music and the legacy of the Beatles, you know. And I was invited to play with this band from Brazil, to go to Liverpool, and I played at the Cavern Club. I played where Ringo Starr presented with the Beatles for the first time. I went to the John Lennon School and stuff. It's such a fantastic festival, you know. It's so great, you know. And it was very emotional, you know, to play at the Cavern Club. I went there twice with this band, and I got honored with a brick, you know, at the Wall of Fame of the Cavern Club. Can you imagine? It's like, I think I was the first Brazilian to have that honor, you know.
Very
and
nice.
Because
you
of my story with Sepultura. Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's
still got the brick. I love it.
So, you know,
go ahead.
No, it's okay.
Well, you also played with a band with someone that I know from Mana. You played with Alex, and you started. You had a is it currently happening, or is it? It's an arrangement of a super group, De La Tierra. I'm trying to figure out what is La Tierra. What does it mean?
De La Tierra is from the earth or from the land. You know,
I told you, Vic. I told you it was. I tell my producer all these things, and he goes, no, and there you go.
You have that meaning, you know, from planet Earth, from, you know, the Earth, but also from the land, you know, from our region, from Latin America, that kind of stuff. We do heavy metal singing in Portuguese and Spanish, and it's very interesting. It's Alex Gonzalez on drums, you know, from Ana, Andres Jimenez from Argentina, from the band Animal. And the bass player is Harold Hopkins Miranda from Puya, from Puerto Rico. And it's great. We have 2 albums out, De La Tierra 1 and 2, and we're working on a 3rd one. You know, we're supposed to be in Miami now in May, you know, to start recording the album and etc. But with everything happening, you know, so we postponed that as well. But we're just doing stuff online too. You know, we just put out a version of a song of our 2nd album, Puro. Acoustically, you know, each one of in our homes, you know, create this video, and you can check on De La Tierra YouTube page, you know, De La Tierra Oficial YouTube page. So we're working on that, like the same as Sepultura, you know, we creating this every Wednesday. We have this Sepultura afternoon. We have 2 hours that we're going to do a live Q&A. We're going to present a song. We're going to talk about the past, you know, about the albums, touring and recording. So every Wednesday we have this, we call Sepulquarta. You know, Quarta is Wednesday, quarta-feira. As we see, it's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, like the 4th day of the week. You know, because here in Brazil, we count like that: segunda, terça, and quarta. You know, so Sunday is the first day. So it connected also with the concept of the album. You know, quadra, numerology, geometry, and stuff. So we created this. You know, we had to postpone the tour, cancel the tour. So we are keeping this connection with them every Wednesday. Something new coming up, a new member is going to be at the live Q&A and stuff, so etc. So it's sepultura.com.br, and you can connect that every Wednesday to live, have an interaction with us, you know.
That's great, man. I mean, you actually are staying more busy, perhaps, in quarantine than if you would.
You know, it's funny because it's like the Star Trek, you know. As soon as you close your computer when you're working, you're already there at your home, you know. It's like true, pushing the button of, you know, teletransportation and stuff, you know. It's very great because there's no time of, you know, to pick up a car, to go to your job, or to go to whatever you do, you know, everything is here, you know, it's a whole new concept.
Absolutely. Well, the way we met, because you've already displayed from the Beatles to, you know, Kiss fan, and then of course your own band and your own style with Sepultura. And, but we met at the Alice Cooper concert in São Paulo. I believe it was 2017. We played a show with Guns N' Roses, and then you came up on stage and just killed it with a little bit of Schools Out, right?
Thank you, man. No, this is insane. You know, it's like it's really hard even to talk about because, you know, you always dream, you know, to play with your idols and stuff. You know, like mine was Queen and Kiss, and of course Alice Cooper was the first big artist that came down to South America and to Brazil. 1974 or 76. You know, we play a big show here.
Played one of the biggest shows ever. Yeah, he's the
ever.
biggest indoor show. I think it's still in the Guinness Book of World Records. That show, because Alice reminds
150,000 people or something. I mean, more than 100,000 for sure. And at the peak of the military dictatorship here, you know, it was crazy. I was very young. I was like 6 years old or even less, and I don't remember very well, you know. But you know, I have that with me, you know, and to play with him, to jam with him and you guys and Nita, you know, welcoming. You know, Alice Cooper is such a unique, down-to-earth guy, you know. And I met him when I used to live in Phoenix, you know, because for a time we were signed with Sony, and Bob Pfeiffer, you know, was our A&R, and Bob Pfeiffer was really good friends from Alice Cooper, and they love golfing and stuff. And once I went to meet Alice Cooper in a golf course. You know, he was playing there, and I spent like, you know, half hour talking to him, and Bob Pfeiffer make the connection and stuff, you know. So and Hollywood Vampires as well, when they came down to Rock in Rio, you know, I played the same song I did with you guys and stuff. So I'm very thankful, man, very thankful. You know, you guys were really welcoming. You know, you made us, and all the people that were with me, you know, of course, made us feel home. You know, I really appreciate that. Every
that was a thrill for us too, because that was the first time I'd ever played São Paulo. I ended up playing, you know, what is
situation, fantastic
a nice Coliseum. It was a nice stadium, and of
stadium.
course playing with Guns N' Roses, and obviously huge hyped band and huge popular band there.
It was a beautiful night.
Guns N' Roses biggest, it was a beautiful night. It really was. I wanted to, because you talked to me about the bands that you were influenced by, but being that we're both guitar players, I think we have some of the same similar influences as guitar players. If you had to list, you know, one or two of your top guitar playing guys, who would, or girls, who would they be?
Yeah, man. I mean, that question is always very hard for a guitar player to answer. You know, there's so many, and you know, I always had my open mind, you know, to listen to different styles of music. But I think Randy Rhoads and Tony Iommi, you know, because this world, you know, it's always most important for me. I mean, of course, Brian May and Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley, you know, but I think Randy Rhoads was really the one who, because I love classical guitar as well, you know, and Randy Rhoads loved that word. He brought a little bit of that information to metal. I love Stevie Howe from Yes, you know, also with the classical influence, you know, Rick Wakeman, Richie Blackmore, you know, they all had John Lord, you know, Deep Purple, you know. I love that classical.
I asked for two. You gave me a dozen.
Yeah, but you know, leave it with Randy Rhoads and Tony Iommi, you know, I'm fine with that.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, because I have this theory that we kind of always play the shape of the guitar from the Guitar Hero that we listen to a lot, or, you know, that what is your, because your shape though is more of a Strat shape. So could that be an Eric Clapton thing?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Hendrix even.
I started my first actually professional guitar, let's say, you know, it was this Charvel that I still have today, you know, because I love Randy Rhoads, and, you know, of course, J.K. Lee. You know, I was there at the Rock in Rio Festival in 1985, you know, Bark on the Moon tour. You know, I saw Ozzy Osbourne and Tommy Aldridge, you know, all that beautiful, you know, lineup and stuff, you know. So that was very strong influence on me, you know, and the Jackson Randy Rhoads was my dream, you know, and I was so lucky, you know, that Sepultura started to happen. My first show that I saw here, that I was mentioning, Kiss in 1983, Creatures of the Night Tour, Vinnie Vincent was the guitar player. And I learned later that all those Randy Rhoads guitars supposed to be for Randy Rhoads, you know, because he died like a few months earlier.
No way. So all of Vinny's guitars were actually supposed to be for Randy. Yeah.
All the Vinny guitars supposed to be for Randy Rhoads, you know, and Vinny, for some reason, took all those guitars. I think he was connected with the company or something like that. And he brought all those guitars on that tour, you know. So somehow that was my connection with Randy Rhoads live. You know, I saw at least his guitars, you know, live as a part of the show that changed my life, you know. So that was pretty cool that I learned that later. I say, wow, man, this is great, because Randy Rhoads, I never had the chance to see him live. He died so young and stuff, you know.
But you got to see a part of it.
Ozzy came to Brazil in 1985 with Jake Lee. So if Randy was alive, will be a big chance that he was still in the band in '85 with Ozzy and stuff. You know? And maybe not, who knows? But so that, you know, that connection was really cool. So I had many Randy Rhoads model guitars that I was connected and used for many years. But and then on the 2000s, I started with Fender, you know, working with Fender and the Stratocaster, and of course Richie Blackmore, I think, and Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix. You know, the Stratocaster is beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it.
I agree. No, I have one in my arsenal as well. I was thinking, because every guitar player you're mentioning has such a unique, great tone. Have you been working on? Have you experimented with different amps? Are you a one amp, one company sort of guy, or have you gone through different companies through the years and found your sort of ultimate setup yet?
Yeah, not really. I mean, on touring, I use Mesa Boogie, you know, tri-axis and the power
banks and stuff.
Yeah, the power amp and stuff, 500 watts and stuff, was amazing. Mesa Boogie cabinets. From a Rise, you know, up to, I don't know, whatever, you know, Kairos or something. And like 10 or 12 years ago, I started using Orange, you know. Orange was really a great surprise for me. The same with Stratocaster, you know, because when the Billy Siegel from Fender came to me and said, hey, you know, let's try to use Fender for Sepultura and stuff, I was a little skeptical, you know, but although, you know, Gary Holt, another great influence, you know, also had like Stratocaster playing Exodus and stuff, you know, and Kirk Hammett as well. He on the Ride the Lightning tour was using a lot of Stratocasters and stuff. So, you know, I gave a try and really worked great, you know. And then Orange amps was really more vintage type of vibe that I felt more freedom with my sound live, you know. Of course, in the studio, I use anything and everything, you know. But
and that could have gone back to Tony Iommi, sort of, because I remember Tony Iommi back in the early days used Orange amps as well.
Yeah, that was a big reason as well. You know, if Tony did it, you know, it must be all right.
Well, you mentioned Rock in Rio, and that is actually pretty much the for all metal fans and for all rock and roll fans, everybody, that's sort of like the mecca of festivals, Rock in Rio, that very few bands get to play. And we got to play it a couple of years ago. And I know that the new album was released when you guys played that, right?
Yeah. We played there last year, really presenting the cover, the artwork of the album. We presented a new song, which was the song Isolation. Which was not written for the quarantine, but you know, now that it makes the whole different sense.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it's almost too prophecy.
And also we presented the name of the album, you know, Quadra, all at once at Rock in Rio. So every Rock in Rio that we did was very special. We always used, let's say, in the opportunity, you know, to do something special, unique, to present something new. We always connected, like the first Rock in Rio we did in '91 was the release of Arise, you know. The album was not even out worldwide. We just released a special pre-mix release here in Brazil. And today this vinyl is a collector's item, you know. It was released a few copies just for us to have something new to play at Rock in Rio, you know. And Arise came a few months later, out worldwide and etc. So Rock in Rio had a very special connection with Sepultura and myself. I did many different projects in different stages. You know, the festival grew so much, you know, and it's amazing. It's always a amazing experience. Every time I play at Rock in Rio, I feel I leave that stage a better musician or a better professional, you know, or something like that, because it's really a great school, you know.
Isn't it kind of freaky to think that, like, what will in the future, even when we're past all this, you know, as far as the whole lockdown thing, what will festival life be like next year?
I know, man.
Even because is everybody willing to go dip their toe back in the water and be scrunched together with 80,000 people? I know you guys have probably played the Wacken Festival in Germany, and so and Rock in Rio is no different. It's you're crammed next to each other for many days in a row, and it freaks me out sometimes that if there's bands coming up right now, I really hope that they get that opportunity to play those festivals.
It's going to be a really different world, already is, how we're going to perceive time and space and, and money, and everything, what kind of jobs we're going to have, and I think the shows and entertainment will be very slow come back, and who knows how, I think now a visa or a passport's not even important anymore. It's just like your vaccination, certificate.
Could be.
Because otherwise we wouldn't be able to move, basically. So it's really a fucked up situation. And the saddest thing is that was totally avoidable. We're not that stupid. I mean, the human being is really stupid, but it's like not that stupid. Yeah. Come on, I mean,
I guarantee it.
Really, I mean, what the fuck, man? I mean, we see it coming, we just don't care. We watch movies and stuff, and we figure out, and now we're here, But at the same time, I think as an artist, I think it's a great time for opportunity, to show a different way, to see the open windows and open doors, not the closed door that it shut it right in front of us, but move around. I mean, what will be the world without Picasso or, Stravinsky or Beatles, the Beatles, they changed the world, not only the music, but they changed society, for better or worse. There's another discussion, but it changed, and the art really is the first place that we're going to see new possibilities, and that's very exciting as well.
Well, I think what you touched on, you made a good point, is that entertainment, that's going to have, people still need to be entertained at the end of the day. Definitely. Whether they're locked in a house or they're free to roam wherever, they want to be entertained. People have obviously been want to be entertained by Sepultura. You've been doing it since the 1980s, and you continue to build and prolong this legacy of an incredible thrash metal band and other bands and type styles of music that keep on enduring. I just think that we just have to, like you said, look for the open windows. Don't beat our head against the one that's we already know about. Let's fly through the open window. And I'm wishing you all the success in the world with the new album Quadra. I know there's going to be stages for you to play. If it's not this year, then we're looking at next year, but you're promoting the hell out of it now. And I appreciate you coming on In the Trenches and giving us a little bit of your time and telling us about, the sort of people that haven't, known about, they've heard Sepultura is from São Paulo, Brazil, but then they didn't know all the stories. They didn't know you were a Beatles fanatic as well. And at the same time,
that's great.
I'm glad that you came on, shared some stories with us. I hope to have you on again In the Trenches when we're back out on the road and we're crossing paths. But Andreas Kitzer, thanks for being on. And actually, if people want, you have a bunch of live streams you mentioned earlier. I just want you to go through those again because people will want to come and check you out and find out all there. And I know that you're on Instagram at Andreas Kitzer.
Andreas Kitzer, yeah, my name.
And again, about the live streams that you got going on.
Yeah, like I said, the event every Wednesday, we're going to have a Sepultura event starting at 4 p.m. Brazilian time, which will be noon Pacific Standard Time. And in Europe, it's going to be 9 p.m. Central European Time. So we're going to go live, we're going to chat, we're going to play, we're going to perform Quadra from our history, and every Wednesday we're going to have a different story, a different album, a different chat, so that's going to be a new connection, and we're going to create new possibilities every Wednesday together with you guys, with everyone. I mean, we unite. Sepultura.com.br, that's the address you have to click every Wednesday live and be a part of it, so I really appreciate the time, man. Ryan, thank you very much.
Cool. We'll hang out.
Pleasure jamming with you. A pleasure chatting with you.
We'll do it again. Andreas, hold on just one second. I'm just going to tell our viewers, if you are watching it on the YouTube platform, Vic has put up all the pertinent links that you'll have. If you're listening to it as a podcast, come and check out ryanroxie.com to find out all information. plus all the links that Andreas gave you for Sepultura. Follow us both on Instagram at Andreas Kisser and at Ryan Roxie. Again, it's been a great one hanging out with Andreas Kisser from the band Sepultura. We'll see you next time in the trenches.
Trenches with Ryan Roxie.